Izuku Midoriya is granted a quirk at the age of 4 years old that many would see as disgusting, terrifying, and villainous, because his quirk would be all based around poison. But it's not just your typical poison, not just your typical make me sick poison. Some is even scarier. Some are even basically acidic, or some are even toxic flora, something that looks so sweet, so nice, and all of the above, but if you touch it, it's deadly. These are the things that Izuku really is able to show off, and something that Izuku really begins to utilize throughout his younger years of his life. But quickly people would think that they don't want anything to do with him. They don't want to touch him. They don't want to be around him. They don't want to talk to him, because they're afraid that even one little tiny touch from Izuku Midoriya will kill them. And that's something he had to deal with and has to deal with his entire childhood. He would be just completely separated from every single person, completely separated from every single friend, every single person he once knew. Even Bakugo himself, yes, he's still confident, cocky, and all, just the jerk he always is, but he wants nothing to do with Izuku. He believes that Izuku's quirk is more suited to be a villain. So he shouldn't even try. He shouldn't even try to be a hero, because it makes no sense. And that right there is something that Izuku never wanted to hear and never wants to hear, but that's what he's hearing. He's hearing Bakugo berate him and say that he's useless, that he's going to be a villain and this and that, and it just gives Izuku this want and desire to be a hero. So he tries everything. We're talking training like crazy. We're talking controlling his poison and controlling every aspect of it to a large extent, and he's able to. I mean, he's able to a certain extent, control the poison, control what he's able to utilize, and control various things that he wouldn't be able to normally. And Izuku is just trying to focus all of his strength on making sure that he can still become that hero and still become the hero he knows he can be. And there's trials and tribulations, there's struggle all throughout, but Izuku is not giving up, not even a single inch. For years, he's training his abilities, training his quirk, training from one singular touch to the next, making sure that even if he, if he touches somebody with, with intent, is the only time they get poisoned. And he also figures out a way to strip them of that poison as well. He tries to learn these things, and over countless years of basically being alone and not having friends and kind of just, being on your own. So you have so much free time to just do what you think is best. Izuku, all the way up until he's the age of 15 years old, is just mastering his quirk. Now, you can't really say to along the lines of it's perfect or anything like that, but he definitely gets a head start, at least in comparison to every single other person. Every other person, I mean, they're slacking. Every other person looking at their quirk like, oh yeah, I'm so strong, I can do whatever I want. But Izuku looks at it like, I'm too strong, so I can't do whatever I want. I need to figure out how to really contain it. I need to figure out how to fully control it. And that's the beauty of what Izuku Midoriya is headed in, and the kind of the way he's headed in is the fact that he knows that he needs more control, and he knows that he needs to be prepared, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's preparing himself. He's getting ready, and after he has that day in his class where they're asking, oh, who wants to be a hero and blah blah blah, and the students hear that Izuku wants to go for UA. A lot of them immediately start saying that Izuku's not going to be able to do it. I mean, seriously. I mean, he is not a hero. He's not going to be a hero. It's not even close. In which Izuku tells them that they can believe it. They can believe in him. They can not believe in him. They can do whatever they want. But at the end of the day, the very end of the day, he will be a hero. He will be legit. He will be that next up. And he promises everybody, when they look back on this, they're going to realize that they made a mistake making fun of him. in which Bakugo says, "Oh, mistake. Why? Because you're gonna kill half the class." And everybody starts saying, "Yeah, see, like you're a villain. You're trying to get vengeance on us and all this stuff." And Izuku shrugs his shoulders and says, "Whatever keeps them away from him, then believe that." Because Izuku wants nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with them, nothing to do with any of the things that they bring up, and nothing to do with any of kind of their motives and what they believe and all that stuff. He tells them straight up, like, you guys, all you see is one way. All you see is one singular way. And I bet not even a single one of you trained your powers, prepared yourself. All you probably thought was, I'm going to be a hero unconditionally. But Izuku tells them, but he never thought that at all. He never thought, oh, I'm going to be a hero no matter what. Oh, I'm going to be a hero, like, it's just a foregone conclusion. Izuku never thought that way. And he tells them straight up that if they did, or if they are basically thinking that way, they're going to quickly run into reality, because reality is that is not going to be the case. They're not going to just be a hero when they want to be. And Izuku would make this very clear, and not too long after that would leave and would continue writing in his journal as he walks under a bridge. And this is his first time he goes face to face with a villain, but the sludge villain has a rude awakening for him specifically, because what he doesn't know is that Izuku has a connection with poison and is very connected to the idea of the sludge that is all around his pseudo body. And when the sludge villain goes charging at Izuku, Izuku is able to manipulate the sludge villain into basically just obliterating himself, just shattering everywhere, but not killing him, of course, but moving and being destroyed into little pieces. And Izuku himself is thinking, is that all you got, really? My one chance to defend myself against a super powered villain was that? In which then out of nowhere, All Might shows up and basically helps Izuku clean up here. Now, of course, he's like, "Oh, well, how'd you do that, kid? Like, I gotta know, like what quirk do you have? Do you go to, are you in high school already? Or are you, still trying to, get there? Or what are you trying to do?" Right? He's trying to figure that out, and he wants to know. He's curious. And Izuku tells him, nah, he's in middle school. He's trying to figure out. He wants to go into UA and stuff like that. And All Might thinks, that's great, right? That's amazing. Good for you. Like, keep trying your best, and maybe you'll get there. And Izuku asks him, if he has a quirk that's like a villain's quirk, can he still be, a hero? In which All Might looks at him and says, of course. Like, are you serious? Just because you have a quirk that may quote-unquote seem villainous, you can still make the quirk itself heroic. And he tells them that the quirk itself, right, a quirk user's powers does not make the hero. What makes the hero is himself. The hero, it truly is not defined by their quirk. Their quirk is truly defined by the hero. And he tells them this and tells him this, like, I want you to remember that the entire time, and I want you to remember to never give up. Never give up on what you believe is correct, and never give up on, what you want to do. Never give up on your capabilities. Never give up on anything that you believe is correct, and never give up on the potential of, becoming one of the greatest heroes alive. Because he believes truly that you can do it, and believes truly that if you put your mind to it, it doesn't matter what happened. It doesn't matter what's going on. All that matters is that you push yourself to be the best version of yourself, and push yourself to be the absolute best hero you can possibly be. And that right there allows Izuku to fully lock in. He lets, obviously, All Might take the sludge villain's little pieces, takes them away, and Izuku prepares himself for the next 10 months. And just all he does is train. He knows that he needs to have preparations. He needs to be prepared for everything. So he studies hard, trains hard, and does everything he possibly can do to learn more and also translate his quirk. And before you know it, the first day leading into the kind of like the UA entrance exam is upon him. And the first day to like really step up and show what you're capable of is sitting in front of him. And he's going to do everything he possibly can to really show what he can do. And he, finishes his entrance exam, or his written portion of the entrance exam. And then you go to, the actual practical portion of the exam, which would be against robots. And a past version of Izuku, someone who wasn't or was a little less prepared, would have been stumped by this because he would have no way of destroying the metal. But this version of Izuku has an acidic-based poison he knows how to utilize and control, and he's able to literally fly, or not fly around, but like just run around really quickly, sliding on his kind of his poison itself as well. And he absolutely melts through so many of these robots, so many. And it's interesting because everybody's watching and they're thinking, wow, it looks like he has a similar quirk to that Mina Ashido girl. And it seems like it's similar, but Aizawa would jump in and tell the people that are saying this that that's incorrect. That Izuku Midoriya's quirk, yes, it may be technically similar, but it is nowhere near kind of the absolute potential it could be at. And he tells them that Mina's quirk is so ground level compared to Izuku's. Izuku can have full control of every poison-like substance you could possibly imagine. And he has proven this by showing and really doing all the training he possibly can do. And that right there is something that they're watching and really looking closely at. And Izuku just shows all of this off as well, utilizing a different version of his poison to kind of move around a little quicker. And then on top of that, he utilizes like acid and stuff like that to absolutely just obliterate these robots. And then on top of that, he continues to utilize other things as well. Any other different version of the poison, maybe like a more corrosive poison and stuff like that, to handle the robots and handle other things as well. And then eventually he would get a chance to save a girl that is covered in rubble, in which they watch closely, but it seems like Izuku's quirk, to being able to absolutely corrode the rocks that are on top of her, it seems as if he has perfect control over them, as if even if it touched her, it wouldn't even hurt. And it's an odd thing, and they're watching very, very closely, but it's something that they weren't expecting and something that they really are impressed by, leading to obviously Izuku having one hell of a day at the UA entrance exam and leading him to getting into UA, because soon after he would get that letter, a letter telling them that he got into UA high school. And this right here would excite him. Class 1A is on the horizon. He might not be the number one student, but he's up there with the best. And that's exactly what he wanted. And the first day of UA, well, let's just say it ended up being a bit of a check, because these kind of ways to check out your quirks, they're not necessarily perfect for Izuku, because Izuku and his quirk isn't very good in a physical ability exam, and that's exactly what ends up happening. Shota Aizawa actually puts them in front of that said idea and tries them out. And he tells them, throw the ball as far as possible, run as fast as possible. Izuku would score, on the back end of things, but he wouldn't get last place. In terms of ability alone, he's still pretty good, but in terms of being able to utilize his quirk in a multitude of fashions for just a raw strength / raw ability test, it's really not the best thing in the world. But still, even with that said, Izuku does pretty damn well, even with all things considered, and he does pretty damn well with basically anything that is involving these kind of regular kind of exams and tests that they go through. He does well, right? He does maybe midway type of rank, or maybe slightly past midway, but so he's not really in danger of getting expelled or anything like that, not even close. But of course, he would want to give off a better showing, and that better showing, well, he's not gonna really be able to show it until he obviously goes head to head with some of these other students, going against Bakugo and Tenya Ida the very next day in a heroes versus villains kind of combat. Heroes versus villains, and he's on the hero team with Ochako versus Tenya Ida and Bakugo, who is the villains. And Izuku really shows what he can do, because when they fight, when him and Bakugo go head to head initially, it's pretty damn obvious what level Izuku is at, because he immediately starts putting it on Bakugo. I mean, he's outpacing him, he's outclassing him, he's making every decision that Bakugo makes that is bad, pretty bad. And it's pretty obvious, because once he gets his hands on Bakugo, he immediately starts freezing up, and Izuku says that the poison won't kill him, but it will make him feel paralyzed, and he'll deal with that later on, and don't worry, you won't be like that forever. And he runs upstairs to help Ochako, and that's exactly what they do, going 2-on-1 against Tenya Ida, defeating him as well. And just like that, he proved day in and day out, just immediately, that this right here is his time. This right here is his chance. And everybody who's watching, everybody who's really, really kind of keeping an eye out for him, is now realizing that he is no joke, that he's far from a joke, that Izuku Midoriya, yes, his quirk may be unorthodox, yes, his quirk may be different, but at the same time, it's not anything to be messed with. And this is something that everybody is in shock about. I mean, they're like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, how was he able to really step up in that way? How was he able to handle himself so easily? I mean, he just easily defeated so many of these people, and so many these two students so simply. It wasn't anything difficult for him. It was legitimately one of the easiest fights they have seen, and he made it look very, very simple. And this is just proof that little tests like your quirk assessments and stuff like that, it doesn't show the whole story. Actually, it shows a lot less than the whole story. The story is Izuku Midoriya is far more prepared than most of the students that are here right now, and he just proved it in the face of the greatest hero alive, All Might. He proved it to him, proved it to his classmates, and proved it to every single person that was even watching. And that right there, that's what matters. Izuku Midoriya just proved himself, and seems to be ready to continue to prove himself over and over and over again. And this would lead him to really locking in and believing that this is his way of showing everybody, showing every single person what they can do, what he can do. And that right there is a scary thing, especially when he continues to want to do more. And eventually he would get his opportunity to kind of, go out and try to legitimately try out for some rescue training, right? That's what they're doing. They're going to do some rescue training at the USJ. And he believes that this is just another opportunity, another chance for him to kind of be better, even show off even better, and get even stronger, and show everybody that just because he didn't score well, in comparison in this quirk assessment, quote unquote test, he still can really hold up his end, especially his end of the bargain when involving other situations. And he would get that chance, just not the way he would believe he would, because they would be facing off with villains at the USJ. And quickly, the USJ would be overrun with villains, sending him, Asui, and Mineta to a place that is like a lake-like area. And this right here is when Izuku kind of gets his opportunity to kind of show up everybody. Not really thinking that he needs to necessarily, he's not trying to necessarily show them up. He's just trying to make sure everybody's okay, protected, and, good to go. And that's what he ends up doing. I mean, these people, or these people in the water, he covers the top layer in mist. So basically, they cannot come out of the water without either falling ill or passing out or anything of the sort. And on top of that, when he gets to the ground, he helps Asui and Mineta get away and, you know, get out of harm's way. And then he even looks to try and help Aizawa. Now, Aizawa gets attacked immediately by the Nomu, but Izuku's able to kind of get Aizawa out of the way just in time, just saving him just in time. And he tells Izuku, don't do this, like, you're going to get yourself killed, in which Izuku would then take a punch for Aizawa, but he would immediately grab onto the Nomu's arms, and as he, or arm, and when he does, he grabs onto the arm of the Nomu tightly, and immediately all this poison, all this stuff would start kind of overwhelming the Nomu. This poison and kind of corrosion would start spreading throughout the Nomu's arm, and the Nomu wouldn't even be able to figure out what to do. I mean, the Nomu can't think for himself. So he has no clue what's happening, no clue or what idea of what's happening, and this corrosion is now eroding his body. And immediately, Shigaraki's in shock, thinking he must have a quirk similar to his, but Izuku, well, excuse me, he does not have a quirk similar to Shigaraki. He's not in that way. His usage of poison, his usage of corrosion, and so much more is on a totally different playing field than what Shigaraki is trying to use. And soon he would realize that, because what he doesn't know is that there's poison all around him, sneaking up on him, about to enter his lungs. And once it starts, it won't stop. The poison begins to overwhelm all the villains, knocking them out entirely cold. Shigaraki passes out, and even Kurogiri tries to open up a portal before it's too late. But before you know it, all of them would be on the ground, out cold, and hanging on to life, barely. In which this is when All Might would arrive, and many other heroes just a couple minutes later. And they would ask him, are they going to die? Like, are they okay? In which Aizawa would walk over and say that either way, he saved us. So you guys might want to watch what you say about this kid, or he might just end up taking your jobs. Especially if you're not prepared to do what he has to do or what he does to make sure that everyone stays safe. And that right there is the truth. And Izuku says, no, they're not going to all die. Like, they're not dead. Like, he just made it so it's hard for them to breathe. They passed out. They're a little unconscious, but they can still breathe. They'll be all right, but they will be asleep for quite a while, unless any of them has some specific quirk or something like that. But, of course, they are, for the most part, out cold and unconscious. And Izuku makes sure that they stay that way, but they can still live and, they're not going to die. Heroes swoop in, collect all the villains and get everybody out of there. And before you know it, Aizawa is basically telling Izuku that he's one hell of a student. I mean, yes, he gets annoying from time to time, and he's a bit of a problem child, it seems, but at the same time, he tells him that he has a future in this, and don't let any of these other idiots and these idiot kids tell you otherwise. In which this is the day that a lot of these students, a lot of these people here start really respecting Izuku. Now, I won't say they didn't respect Izuku to an extent beforehand, but at the same time, they saw Izuku's quirk a little bit like it's kind of scary. It's something to stay away from. It's something to kind of worry about. And that right there is something that Izuku never really wanted. Izuku never wanted anyone to fear his quirk, anybody to kind of run away from it. He wants people to feel comfort in it, feel as if Izuku is there to protect them. That's what Izuku wants, and that exactly is what Izuku is going to continue to try to do, and he's going to do that as much as possible. I mean, he's going to do everything in his power to make sure that everybody is or looks at him like, you know what, this kid, he's fully, fully on our side. He is fully able, capable, and all that stuff. And he believes that this right here is the way to go. That this right here is just the way he's going to help people, and the way he's truly going to be able to kind of get his message across, you could say. And he's going to continue pushing his chances at being a full-fledged hero. And he's going to do everything in his power to do just that. And before you know it, a couple days would pass, and it would be finally time to show off those capabilities, show off those powers, and show off exactly what you can do. Because Izuku Midoriya, well, he steps in to actually take on his first UA Sports Festival, and it's a bit awkward, a bit unorthodox, but Izuku would struggle through that first event, the first event of the obstacle course race. But once they get to that second event, once he teams up with Tokiyami, Meihatsume, and Ochaku Uraka, everybody starts realizing quickly, everybody kind of starts realizing very, very fast that, well, this kid or this guy, he is no joke, because he starts putting poison all around them, and they can't even get close. They can't touch any of the people there. They can't do anything. They can't do a single thing. I mean, they are genuinely at a loss for words, thinking, how? Like, how does this make sense? How does this make any sense at all? Like, it doesn't all add up. This doesn't make any sense to an extent. And they're basically thinking, like, this kid, like, how is he this capable? How is he this good? How is he this freaking good at what he does? And Izuku, well, all he does think about is staying capable, staying ready, and just getting better and better and better and better. And that right there, that's impressive. Izuku Midoriya doing what he does is very, very impressive. And he'll continue to do that. He'll continue to work at that and continue to push himself. And as things go on, as they actually win the cavalry battle, they would then head on to that next portion. And Izuku Midoriya would go head to head with the one that is known as Hitoshi Shinso. And he's a little interesting. Hitoshi Shinso is a very, very interesting fellow. And the reason for this, and the reason why he's, an interesting person and an interesting fighter, is because his quirk is very, very, you could say, out there. His quirk does things that most people, they don't know exactly what to do against it. But at the same time, I mean, it shows the level that he's really at. More Hitoshi Shinso than even Izuku, because he eliminates Izuku. Izuku still not having the best relationship with his class. Yes, they do respect him and think his quirk is cool, but watching the things he does still is pretty damn scary to an extent. But with all that being said, with him basically going through all that, it seems as if, well, Izuku doesn't get the heads up about Hitoshi Shinso's quirk and would get eliminated in the very first round, which is kind of saddening, because Izuku wanted to really, really show off, and this would lead him to getting, like, no offers. Like, he gets very few offers, and it definitely makes him feel kind of shitty. But luckily enough, someone that he knows very closely decides to take him under his wing, believing that he could really use for proper hand-to-hand combat training and proper so much other training as well. And that's, well, we know him very well, being that of Shota Aizawa. So Hitoshi Shinso and Izuku actually have a chance here to work together, train together, and even get better together as they continue working and training. And even they're kind of sparring buddies in a way, and they kind of work. It kind of works perfectly. Like, Izuku just trains with him, fights with him, and does all these things and prepares himself and prepares everybody else as well to basically get to that level, right? Get to that next level. And Izuku believes that this right here, this is the best opportunity that he has, and the best opportunity that he really is going to get in terms of, going out there and absolutely giving it your 100% no matter what, because he believes that Aizawa, of all people, he knows. I mean, he knows better than so many people out there what you need to do, what you need to be capable of, and what needs to happen. And Aizawa is that perfect person to really get Izuku to that potential that he truly believes he can be at, and the potential he truly believes that he knows he can be at. And honestly, there is no denying the capabilities that Izuku could potentially get into, and that right there, well, that excites Izuku and even excites other people that are watching very closely, and even excites so many others as well. But before you know it, it would be time for him to basically go back to class. And unfortunately, he would hear about a student that is a classmate of his own, Tenya Ida. And when he hears this, when he hears about this student, he hears about basically this student, of what's going on or what's happening, and what's like, what's the purpose and what's going on. He hears that Tenya Ida is actually, well, in critical condition from the fight or a fight with the hero killer himself. And they have some choices to be made, some choices and things to figure out. And Izuku, all that's going through his head is, how do we help him? What do we do? Like, what can be done in a scenario like this? And Izuku just believes that he wishes there was something. There was something he could do, at least something that isn't massively risky, but that's something that he wants to keep in his head for a while and keep in his head as he continues, because he has enough to think about, especially with the up-and-coming battle that is right in front of him. A battle between him and All Might, obviously with the help of Katsuki Bakugo, but Bakugo and Izuku are going to face off with the number one hero, and Izuku truly believes that all it's going to take is one singular touch, and if he can touch just one finger on All Might, he believes that he can be defeated. But it seems like he's not only going to be fighting against All Might, because when they jump out the gates, Bakugo would smack him with an explosion, telling him to sit his ass down, and that he will get the job done by himself. Izuku would look up to see Bakugo immediately just disappear, blasting away with explosions, and Izuku would shrug his shoulders and smirk just a little bit as he walks within the mist that is nearby, disappearing within the darkness of an alleyway, and he awaits Bakugo to face off with All Might. But what will happen in this clash between two students and the greatest hero alive? Well, you're going to have to find out in the very next and final part of What If Deku Had a Poison Quirk. Izuku Midoriya goes off basically into the shadows. And the reason why he does this is he's looking for a moment, a chance, and an opportunity to actually bring the fight to All Might. Because right off the rip, he's watching Bakugo go head to head with All Might. But it's not head to head in the way of like, oh, he's actually, he actually has a chance. He can actually do this. Yeah, no, and not even close. It's pretty obvious that All Might outclasses and is going to outdo Bakugo 10 times out of 10. And it's very, very easy for him to do so. But Izuku is making sure that he keeps a close eye on everything that's going on, because on the off chance that he gets an opening is when he wants to really, really put himself in a proper position. And that's exactly what's going to happen. An opening where, Bakugo's on the ground, basically defeated, and Izuku comes out of nowhere, utilizing something that he's been working with, and that is his poison mist. A mist of poison would be created, but it would be him. It would be like the sludge villain all over again, but, not a big sludge pile, but he would legitimately be poison. Like, he'd be a mist of poison breathing through the air, and as it goes toward All Might, he would hover around All Might and immediately infect him with that poison, and it will begin to slow him down. Izuku immediately tells All Might that he should stop the fight right now and give up, because soon the poison will creep into his blood, and soon it will make him feel sicker than he's ever felt before, and he's not going to have enough time to really do anything if he decides basically to fight his way out of this. And he also tells All Might that he really only has about 45 seconds to make his choice. Bakugo tries to fight All Might more, and then Izuku tells All Might the more he fights, the quicker the poison will take its effect, in which this would shock him, thinking this is crazy. Like, are you serious? And he begins coughing, and of course this would lead to an All Might surrender, and All Might says, okay, I surrender, I give up. Izuku would immediately get the poison out of All Might, and then reveal that he was kind of lying. The poison that he used, yes, would affect him, yes, would slowly kind of deteriorate and make him more tired, make him more sick, and all of these things. But he definitely had a lot more time than Izuku was giving off, because he was never going to be able to lay a hand on All Might and really do things the way he believed he could have if he really got a hold of All Might. But of course, he had to bluff him just a little bit, and it led to, obviously, their victory. And Aizawa watching this, he's thinking, yeah, I mean, this kid, he's a smart one, right? He's really, really, really dedicated to figuring things out. And on top of that, the fact is, he has a lot more fighting experience now because he trained with Aizawa, and even has experience with the scarf that he doesn't really use that often. It's more of a Shinso thing, so he kind of stays away from it. But overall, he has a lot of experience now, and that experience is just showing even against the greatest hero alive, All Might. Now, Bakugo's pretty pissed. I mean, Bakugo's thinking he wanted to win on his own. He wanted to do this. He wanted to do that. And Izuku tells him, like, you weren't going to win. Like, you weren't going to beat him on your own. It just doesn't make sense. It wasn't going to happen. And the reality is, they needed each other. Izuku needed Bakugo, and Bakugo needed Izuku, because Izuku needed the opening. He needed the opportunity. He needed the chance to jump in there and change the feat of the battlefield, and that's exactly what they did. So he tells Bakugo, calm down, take a breath, don't worry about all this other excess nonsense, and just focus on this. This is what they were able to do, and let's continue to, do exactly that. In which, of course, Bakugo's pissed, but at the same time has a little bit of respect for it, thinking, you know what, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right? Maybe you're correct in the idea that we both needed each other's help, and Bakugo gets a little bit more respect for Izuku here, but doesn't show much of it. As this would be over and done with, basically, it would head them now to the forest training camp. Now, the forest training camp is perfect for this scenario for Izuku, because Izuku is just as much training as he needs, as much training as possible. He wants to push his limits, push himself, and get better, and better. And he just wants to learn more about his poison-like abilities, his ability to really utilize anything involving poison, even changing this entire kind of place, this entire forest, into a kind of acidic/poison wasteland. And it would be basically unable to even see it. But Izuku messes with it, just a small portion of it, as they go. And it would be perfect that he's messing with it, because before you know it, villains would show up, and villains would need to be taken down. Because at the end of the day, they believe this is an opportunity to get a leg up. But what they don't know is that they're walking straight into basically a trap. And Izuku tells everybody when all this is occurring, as many people as possible, that they need to get out of harm's way ASAP, get to a proper location, and stay away from a part of the forest, right? And Izuku does this, and in doing so, he makes it so parts of the forest, if they even go near it, the poison will knock them out cold on their butt, and it will be done and dusted. So half the villains would get knocked out and at least stopped, at least for the moment. And Izuku would head up to actually see a little kid by the name of Koda that he met not too long ago. And in doing so, he meets up with a giant monstrous person by the name of Muscular. And Muscular goes straight for him, but he just disappears into mist as he begins to kind of send this mist, poison mist, within the lungs of Muscular. And he would tell Muscular that all those muscles, truly, it's a curse. He needs so much oxygen for those muscles. He needs so much air to breathe, But the more he whiffs, the more he breathes in, and the more he tries to get that sweet oxygen into his body, the more that poison seeps through his body, and the more that the poison begins to seep through him and slow him down, down, down. And Muscular, he tries to throw punch after punch after punch, but soon he would realize that he's out of gas, that he has nothing left, and all he could see is Izuku pick up Koda and tell him that everything's going to be fine, and that the big guy is going to fall on his face. Izuku would then put out his hand and immediately kind of force the poison to even like move quicker. And as he does this, Muscular would pass out on the ground completely out cold. And then Izuku would get rid of the poison so that he doesn't, kill him. He would leave and head off to a different part of the forest as he clears his way through and basically has it so they can run through even the poisonous areas of the forest, and they get to a safe spot. And Izuku kind of helps out where he can with a lot of the other classmates that need help and blah, blah, blah. And it seems like this little raid that the League of Villains decided to put their hat in on actually fails tremendously. All these villains that showed up are put behind bars, and some of them, well, they're not technically there, so they're able to leave because of twice. But a lot of these villains that were there, at least for the moment, get put behind bars and absolutely just put in a horrible spot because of how prepared this group of students really was. And before you know it, they're heading back, and just a day later, there's another attack on a city, and All Might is there facing off with All for One. And of course, Izuku and many others, they're not a part of this fight, and they're not there to try to save one of their classmates. So they truly just watch as All Might takes on All for One by himself, and they really kind of focus in on the idea that All Might, he really is the greatest hero alive. He can really handle himself, and he really is just the peak of what a superhero is. And he would defeat All for One with the United States of Smash, and Izuku and many others would watch closely and be excited to see that All Might, he passes on the torch to the future generation of all the heroes that are alive. And Izuku, all he can think about is that he wants to bring a different name, a different kind of name to what his quirk is, a different name and a different really want and desire, because everyone is going to look at his quirk and think, oh, he's a villain, he's this, he's that. But Izuku, no. He's going to make sure that everybody knows, everybody believes, everybody understands that he is not only a hero, but even people with quirks like his own can still become heroes. And this would then obviously lead them to some training on their super moves and stuff like that. But the main thing that they would really kind of head into would be the Provisional Hero License exam. And this exam right here, it is perfect for Izuku, because Izuku may not be, in terms of regular strength, might not be the best or the most insane, and he might not be able to throw the ball and eliminate people so easily, but he can slow the whole battlefield down, and he could really take over the entire battlefield. And he would get, with the help of other students, he would get his tags, he would get his kind of eliminations. And of course, this would lead him to that very next thing, being that of the rescue portion of the training. And Izuku, he has a pretty good time of doing this. He literally has something is like a neurotoxin, so he can get rid of poison if people are sick or something like that. So that's helpful in a rescue scenario. But where he really thrives is when Gang Orc and all those other fake villains show up, and he disappears into mist, and he begins to overwhelm them. He absolutely overwhelms them with poison and these toxins and everything he could possibly do. He even teams up with Mina to really make kind of this insane toxin that would spread throughout the entirety of the area. And everybody would be like, this is insane. How were they able to do this in such a quick succession? Or how is he able to do this in such a quick succession? And at the end of the day, Izuku is one of the best support heroes here because of the poison that he exudes or that he gives off. And as he's doing this, everybody's watching, and Todoroki and Inasa decide to team up, and this team up's even better this time around because the poison that is being kind of lit ablaze, or this poison that is being laid out, can be lit ablaze and be stoked with the wind, and out of nowhere you get this huge blaze of glory that knocks out and defeats even Gang Orca, but obviously knocks out all these excess fake villains as well. And with a big combo move between the three of them, one foul swoop is all it takes for the defeat and the stopping of all of these villains, or these fake villains. But they're able to take down this entire kind of place and take down every single person that is here. And just like that, Izuku and many others prove that they are of that level and prove that they are really that good, because there it is, Izuku Midoriya and all these other people, everyone else is at that level, at that stake, and it seems as if he's now able to become a provisional hero and now gets the chance to go out and train and prepare with a fellow agency, or a different agency in general. Now that agency, I mean, he doesn't really have a ton of choices, but he would eventually get a choice that would be just undeniable when he faces off with Mirio. And that's when he really is able to show what he can do, because he faces off with Mirio, and his entire class faces off with Mirio. But Izuku, I mean, he really gives him a run for his money. The special way that Izuku uses his quirk, and the different various versions he can use with the poison and various other things as well, he really changes a battlefield. It really changes so much, and Mirio really can't keep up. Not to the point of where he's not really good, like he's not capable, but he can't keep up in a way of he just isn't able to get his attacks off, and it ends up becoming a bit of a stalemate that Aizawa says that they're done. Like, we're not pushing this any further. No one needs to get hurt. So we're done for now. And he tells them, like, you guys can fight on your own time, but that's good enough. In which Mirio would basically get this word back to Sir Nighteye, and Sir Nighteye would think, you know what? I mean, this kid, he's pretty good. I mean, he seems pretty good, and he has some good records with various teachers and various faculty and other heroes believing that he's of a high caliber. So why not? Let's give him a shot, right? Let's give him a chance. And well, Sir Nighteye gives him that opportunity with a 1 versus 1, something pretty basic. But quickly, like in the first couple seconds, he realizes that the kid's quirk is something he cannot foresee, something he can't really look forward and prepare for the way he would need to actually defeat him. So he stops it and says that does he know that that quirk would predominantly be looked at as a villain's quirk, that you would be looked at as if you are a villain, in which Izuku nods his head and says that he has been looked at like that for a very long time. And he understands it. When he puts on this mask, the mask that filters out anything and everything that he needs, and it allows him to truly breathe the poison a little bit better, because he is immune to it, but it doesn't mean that he's able to breathe it so easily, because it's, poison and not oxygen and air and stuff like that. When he puts on this mask, though, he knows what people are going to look at him as. He knows what it looks like when the poison is coming off his body, and he knows what it looks like when he disappears into a green mist, and everybody is thinking, wow, that kid, that guy, he's terrifying. And he knows what it seems like. He knows what it feels like when he can create an entire ecosystem of these poisonous, venomous kind of plants and animals. He knows when he does this that it's terrifying. He knows. But it doesn't matter to him. All that matters is that he gets the job done. All that matters is that he protects everyone he possibly can. And Sir Nighteye stops him and says, good. Because you may not be the most popular. You may not end up being the most famous. You may not make the most money. But you can make the most difference. And that, as a hero, is what matters. And he tells the kid, he stamps his paper and tells him, welcome to the agency. Because you should and can be here for a very long time if everything that was said about you is 100% the truth. In which Izuku says, yes, it is. And he's going to make sure that everybody understands. And Izuku kind of starts working with them over the next couple days and goes on his first patrol with Mirio, leading to him, Mirio coming across the one and only Overhaul. But the interesting thing is, a little girl by the name of Eri comes running out and immediately jumps toward Izuku, and Izuku grabs onto her and thinks she's in trouble. What's going on? And Mirio's nudging him in a way of allowing her to leave, and Izuku thinks this might be a time to do something that he's been trying to do and preparing to do for a while. He touches the shoulder of Eri and tells her that everything's gonna be all right. You know, some people get bumps and bruises, and some people fall, and, you know, stuff like that. Everything's gonna be fine. In which Mirio looks at him like in a weird way, in which he wasn't thinking Izuku would react like this, but Izuku would just let Eri go back, and he would tell Eri, "It's all right. Like it's your dad. You know, you're blah blah blah. Like, you know, everything's fine." And he tells Overhaul, like, he gets it. You know, kids are hard to work with sometimes. And Eri runs back toward Overhaul and kind of grabs onto him, and Izuku's telling him like, "Oh no, like there's no worries." And they talk for a little bit, and he's thinking that all he needs Eri to do is touch him on the skin, in which he would then tell Overhaul that, "Oh, if you don't mind, like, what do you have in mind here? Like, well, why exactly is your daughter doing this? Blah blah blah." And he kind of extends the conversation to where he gets upset, in which this is when Eri watches him take the glove off near her, like kneel down, taking the glove off, and Eri would touch him on the wrist. And as this happens, Overhaul decides to put the glove right back on and says, "Oh, okay, well, we have to be going now." And that one mistake would be one that he will never forget, because they start walking together, and Eri holds on to the pant leg of Overhaul, but Overhaul would then feel dizzy, drowsy, and then out of nowhere, he would collapse, face first on the ground, and Izuku would tell Eri to get over toward Mirio, and he would tell Mirio to go get help, go get the police, go get everything ASAP, and that's exactly what happens. And it seems like Overhaul was tricked into something that he had no idea would happen, and of course, Izuku makes sure that Eri's not injured by any singular, poison or anything like that, giving her like a immunity to poison, at least for that moment. And they capture up Overhaul, put him in core canceling cuffs, and bring him to a hospital. But even Izuku says that once he kind of gets rid of that poison from his body, that everything is going to be fine for him. But yeah, bring him to a hospital, stuff like that. He gets rid of the poison, and then they head off to a hospital. But this makes a lot better situation for them, because once they get information on where the Shihazakai base is, they already have their leader Overhaul here, and when they begin to invade the entirety of the place, it seems as if the whole Shihazakai base and the whole gang crumbles quicker than you could imagine, and it seems like the villains all alike are going to do this as well, because the entirety of the place would be covered in poison because of Izuku, and everybody would slowly but surely be whittled out, be tossed out, and be captured just like that. And before you know it, Izuku's already back with the agency, working with them more, but also training with Class 1A. But this would lead them into a Class 1A versus Class 1B type of fight. And of course, he would get his training in and his preparations in. And in all honesty, this version of Izuku, I mean, he's going to handle his business pretty well against a group of heroes that he faces off with. The main person that is going to be an issue, or main two people, would be Shinso, who knows his quirk somewhat well. But on top of that, Monoma, who wants to try to steal the quirk of Izuku. But even doing so, it's not going to help him necessarily. Not having control over a quirk like that will backfire even against your own team. And that's exactly what it does. Backfiring against his own team. And Izuku's control over it just overwhelms all of them. And with a team of Izuku, Mineta, Mina, and also Ochako, they're able to handle their business and handle everything and get the win for Class 1A. And of course, this would lead on to so much more for Izuku Midoriya, continuously working with Sir Nightaye's agency, given the fact that Sir Nighteye is still around and not, kicking the bucket. And, of course, this would also lead him to even more opportunities in the near future. But, of course, they do have to deal with one last thing, and that is a absolute police or a prison type of riot that leads to Gigantomachia and many other villains trying to basically siege into the prison and get Overhaul, get Shigaraki, get All For One, so many other people out of prison to create chaos to get the main League of Villains back on the streets. But with the help of Class 1A, with the help of so many others, this little siege, this chance at a revival of the League of Villains would be halted by Izuku, Class 1A, and so many other heroes, especially when Izuku, with Midnight, is able to, for the most part, poison, in a way, Gigantomachia, slowing him down to the point where he gets knocked out cold, and Midnight doesn't even have to sacrifice herself for the greater good and for that moment, and they're able to shut down completely what's going on and shut down everything involving that entire kind of raid. But as this comes to an end, as the raid would be settled, and as Izuku would continue through his first year leading into his second, Izuku Midoriya would continue training, sharpening his skills, and preparing himself for so much more, because he truly believes that just because he has a quirk that looks very similar to a villain's doesn't mean he can't truly be one of the greatest heroes alive. And many other people, they look at things this way as well now, seeing Izuku Midoriya climb the ranks, gain access to being a part of the Big Three during his third year, and then eventually becoming a somewhat known hero is something that he continues to do to climb the ranks. Just because he's scary, just because his quirk seems villainous, doesn't mean he can't be one of the best heroes around. And he stands right next to Mirio, maybe not in rank, but he stands right next to Mirio in terms of capability and how good of a hero he truly is. Izuku may be rated like 35th in the entirety of Japan, at least for a very long time as a hero, but it doesn't mean that he's not more than capable of keeping so many people, citizens alike, safe from villain attack after villain attack after villain attack. But with that said, that is the end of this story. The story of what if Deku had a poison quirk. And if you guys enjoyed, show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, and leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day.